What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and like this video. Today is all about how to do your first wheelie, so let's not waste any time. Oh, she sounded good. She's ready to go. So we are gonna go to a nice little spot where there is hopefully no traffic, so I can show you guys exactly what you came here to see. But while we're on the way, there's a couple things that we need to talk about before you can actually do your first wheelie. So before you guys get there, there's a couple things that you're going to need to think about or take into consideration. So obviously doing wheelies is inherently dangerous, as is riding a motorcycle. So obviously you're going to want to take some preventative measures just in case things don't go exactly your way, we'll say. You know, God forbid something happens while you guys are practicing this and you are not wearing the proper protective gear to save yourself. So if you're going to be practicing wheelies, wear your gear, be smart. For those of you that are ready to do your first wheelie, let's get into the basics. So what are some things you're going to want to think about? Well, one is your body position on the bike. Two is the controls you're actually using. And then three is how smooth you can get with those controls. And those all kind of tie in together. So your body position on the bike, now it's going to be different depending on what kind of wheelie you're actually doing, whether it be a sit down or a stand up. I don't do stand up wheelies. Right now I'm only doing sit downs. So that's what I'm going to be showing you guys as we speed past the CHP station. Hello. So your body position, you're going to want your butt scooted as far back on the seat as possible. And the reason for that is, well, let's think of how you actually do a wheelie, or the process that takes place when you're doing a wheelie. Whether it's a clutch up or a power wheelie, essentially the back tire is spinning so fast, there's so much torque, that the only way the bike can transfer that energy is for the front wheel to start coming up. And once the front wheel starts coming up, it's not going to start coming back down until you either let off the throttle or it goes far enough back to where it just loops backwards. That is what you don't want. So that covers the body position. Next is your controls. What's up, brother? Next is your controls. So with the controls, and I covered some of these controls in my how to ride a motorcycle video, but if you guys want to go check that out, you can. Gotta love the tunnels. If you guys want to check that out, you can. It's on the channel. But you're going to be using the clutch and the throttle mainly. And once you get good enough, you're going to start using the rear brake as well. I rely mainly on my throttle control, which if you're going to be relying on throttle control, it better be on point, because you got nothing else to save you at that point. So you're going to be using the clutch and the throttle for a clutch up. That's why it's called a clutch up. And what you're going to do is pull in the clutch. At the same time as you're pulling in the clutch, you're going to rev the bike up and then dump the clutch. So, and it should all be one very fluid motion. I'll show it to you guys, but that's essentially all you're doing. And as soon as you dump the clutch, when you rev the bike, the front wheel is going to come up nice and quick, depending on how high you rev it. So that goes over the controls, and then how smooth you are when you're using said controls. Now, there are a lot of you guys that have probably tried to do a wheelie in the past, and maybe the wheel didn't come up. Maybe, I don't know, something happened, and you maybe did all the steps, but you didn't get the outcome you wanted. And that used to be me when I first started doing wheelies. I would pull the clutch in, rev the bike up, dump it, and then I would just kind of feel it jolt back a little bit, and the wheel wouldn't come up. And the easiest way to fix that is just to realize that you're not giving the bike enough throttle to come up, and you're probably not being consistent after you've dumped the clutch on the throttle. So you're probably revving the bike, dumping the clutch, and then immediately letting off the throttle because you're anticipating the bike is going to come up. But you actually need that throttle to be consistent so that the wheel comes up nice and smooth. So that's what I mean when I say that you need to be smooth on the controls. You need to know how much input you're giving it and what that's going to do to the bike. And that all comes over time with like doing wheelies and stuff like that. So this is not all going to be perfect on the first try, but those are kind of the basic. You want to be very, very gradual with this learning process. Don't expect to be perfect on the first time that you go out. Don't expect to be bringing it up all the way to 12 o'clock on your first day trying. That's just not how it's going to happen. And if you do, it's probably because you looped it. So let's go ahead and show you what your first wheelie is going to look like. Now on a 600cc, you can do this in first, second, or third gear pretty comfortably. Obviously, the higher gear you're in, you're going to need a little bit more speed to carry that momentum in order to actually get the wheel up. So I'm going to show you guys pretty much what your first wheelie is more than likely going to look like. So I'll shift it into second, and we're rolling at about 6,000 RPMs, and I'm going to clutch it up. That's probably what your first wheelie is going to look like. It was a nice small pop. It came up a little bit. You just want to get an understanding of what it feels like when the bike pops up during a wheelie. So I'll show you guys again. I'm in second gear, and I'm cruising at about 6,000 RPMs. Boom. That was even a little high. Yours is probably going to look something like this. That was just barely off the ground. Once you guys are comfortable doing that, it's going to take a little while, and it's going to feel like the bike is coming up way further than it actually is. Once you can get the bike up that far, then you know that the bike will come up. You know how to do it, and at that point, it's just about bringing it up higher and higher and higher. So how do you actually progress with getting the bike higher? Something that I do is I really pay attention to what's going on during the wheelie. When I first started doing wheelies, it was like very much I was just clutching it up. As soon as the bike came up, like my mind went completely blank, and I was just like in blackout mode basically until the bike came back down. But the more you become aware of what you're doing and how it's impacting the way the bike is moving, the way better that you're gonna get at wheelies. So let's go ahead and do that again. I'm gonna show you guys how to be a little bit more gradual with the throttle when you're coming up. And you're gonna see me pay attention to my right hand on the throttle and see how I'm adjusting as the bike is coming up. It's gonna be very, very subtle, but you'll be able to see it. All right, here we go. All right, so you guys could see as the bike was coming up, there was a point where I started holding my position. And as soon as I felt that point where I was like, okay, I'm holding here steady, I gave it a little bit more throttle input, and then the bike came up higher. And then I was like, okay, it's coming up kind of quick. I let off, it dropped down a little bit, and I caught it with the throttle. So you guys are kind of seeing my wrist doing this motion while the bike's up in the air. And that is how I control the bike during the wheelie. So what I'm doing is I'm bringing the bike up just high enough to where my hands are about right in front of my face. I can still look over to the sides of the bike, or I can even lift my head up a little further and see over the top of it. So once you guys are at that point where you can kind of ride it out like that, that's pretty much it. Now, I know that that was a very, very simple explanation, but that is pretty much all that there is to doing a wheelie. It's really just a mental game that you have to play with yourself about getting the bike higher and higher, and not being scared of that feeling where you finally come up and the bike slowly starts dipping underneath you. Now that is pretty much balance point if you get to that spot. I felt that maybe 3 or 4 times, and it scared the shit out of me. So, you know, I'm definitely not a pro yet, but for those of you that are just getting started learning, this is a very, very good foundation. And it wasn't real technical. I just kind of like how it feels, and you guys will also know what it feels like when you do a good wheelie. Like, you can ride a wheelie out for a long time, but you'll know when you have the bike up high enough and it's just kind of cruising, it's just floating. So like, I can ride a wheelie out when it's really low to the ground, So that was kind of a longer one, but it wasn't good, right? The wheel was very low to the ground. I was very much chasing it. What you want to do is get the bike up as high as you're comfortable with as soon as possible. And what that's going to do is it's going to give you more control over the bike, because the quicker you can get it up, the lower your RPMs will be, and the easier it's going to be smooth with the throttle. If your bike is real high up in the power band while you're in the wheelie, every time you try to make an adjustment with the throttle, it's going to be jerking the bike back and forth, and it's going to be very difficult to control. So the lower your RPMs can be during your wheelie, the easier it will be to control. So that was second gear. That was actually pretty good. Just to show you guys, I'm gonna do one in third, and I'll show you guys exactly how that looks. Third gear. Yeah, if you guys want to get started practicing wheelies, that's how you do it. And eventually you're just going to get better and better and better, and then you'll be making a YouTube tutorial just like me one day. So if you guys like the video, please make sure to share it, get it out there so people know how to look cool for the ladies. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure to subscribe, drop a like. I'm gonna have some more videos coming out soon, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.